So today we have a tale of sweet, juicy karma. For some of you, this news that we're going to talk about here is going to make a lot of you very happy. However, the situation in general is very sad and unfortunate. So we have a brand new cruise ship with what is one of the most expensive cruise lines on planet Earth. It's also the happiest cruise line on planet Earth. I think you guys know who I'm talking about. Well, their new ship had a set of difficulties along the way. Now, this is interesting because I was just in port with this particular ship as well as others of the Carnival variety, and I heard some very mean comments that I'm going to share with all of you. And well, let's just say the passengers that were sharing these mean comments about Carnival and the other ships that were in port that day are going to be as quiet as a mouse moving forward. By the way, quickly before we dive into this topic, I have a small morsel of information that some of you may or may not find useful. So I just disembarked the Norwegian Joy only 3 hours ago. I decided to take the ultimate risk and book the earliest flight possible back here to Tampa so I can make some news for all of you. My flight was set for 9 a.m. and as many of you know, that is cutting it very close to missing your flight whenever you disembark the ship. Now, I got priority disembarkation on the Norwegian Joy, thankfully, but even with that, I was just 5 minutes shy of missing my flight, them closing the door for the bridge for me to board. So if you guys are ever wondering how early you should book your flight, I would say don't do 9 a.m. Do not. Maybe after like 10 or 11 is probably that sweet spot, given that you have priority disembarkation. Otherwise, you could potentially be screwed. So 2 days ago, I was visiting everyone's favorite cruise port, Nassau, Bahamas, while sailing on board the Norwegian Joy. There were other ships in port that day as well. Don't quote me on these exact names. I remember Freedom of the Seas was there, Adventure of the Seas was there, the Carnival Liberty, and I believe it was the Carnival Sunrise. And then sure enough, later on in the day, chugging along, we see a brand new cruise ship, one of the newest in the world right now, the Disney Wish. We didn't know it at the time, but the ship was suffering some technical difficulties. Many believe it was a technical issue involving the engine of some sort. People were saying that you had to use thrusters to even get over into the cruise port. However, nevertheless, just to kind of set the scenario here, let's be real. If we're ever at a port where there's a lot of ships, let's say be it a Nassau or a Cozumel, we've all seen Carnival's older ships, right? And keep in mind, I'm not bashing or anything or talking about Carnival ships. I'm setting the stage here. We've seen Carnival's older ships, and let's be honest, sometimes they're not the most aesthetically pleasing. And many people have had thoughts and they've made comments. Well, on this particular day, this past Saturday, I heard a myriad of comments, very mean comments. There were people that had on the Disney ears. They were all Disneyed out, right? And as they passed through the Carnival ships, as we were going into the downtown area of Nassau, Bahamas, one person had the audacity to say, "Look at that old rusted piece of junk. It'll be lucky if it makes it out of the cruise port." Now that, ladies and gentlemen, is where karma decides to take over. So when it comes to Disney Wish, it's currently doing 3-night sailings out of Port Canaveral. Disney Wish is, well, it's not a cheap cruise line. I did a quick search before I started this video, and to get on a ship this May, well, you're talking about $6,000 for a 4-day cruise. And by the way, yeah, I meant it's operating 3 and 4-day sailings, by the way. But the thing is, right, a lot of people that sail on, let's say, nicer cruise lines, they do love to talk down on other cruise lines. And this is not everybody, but you guys know there are those people out there that exist. The Disney Wish on its most recent sailing had gone through a couple issues. 3, if I'm correct. First, it had a delay with its onboarding process, which it does happen. It happened on my Norwegian Joy cruise that I just did. Not a biggie at all. But like I said, it had an issue with its engine of some sort, some technical issues, as they say. And a lot of people were saying that the ship had to use thrusters to even get in port. The ship got to Nassau, Bahamas late, and then it ended up having to stay overnight in Nassau, Bahamas, keeping the passengers stuck on board because they didn't know when the ship was going to be fixed because, well, at that time, they didn't exactly know what was wrong. Either that or they were just taking their time to fix it. That way they made sure everybody got to where they needed to, except they didn't. Because of the overnight, because Disney Wish was set to leave Nassau, Bahamas around 5 p.m. on Saturday, it didn't leave until around 11 a.m. the following day on Sunday, causing them to have to unfortunately cancel their call in their private island over in the Bahamas, Castaway Cay. Now, they also had to cancel their fireworks as well, and, well, let's just say that 3-day sailing, it wasn't exactly the happiest for many of the passengers, especially when you consider the price they paid for that cruise. Now, to be clear, it wasn't just the technical issue that caused the problem in the cancellation of Castaway Key. There was also weather issues that came in the way with the delay with the technical issue. Now, Disney is compensating the passengers on board, giving them $100 of onboard credit, as well as 20% off on their next sailing, be it a 3, 4, or 7-day sailing. However, like I said, this whole situation, it is unfortunate in a general sense, but it does bother me to a certain extent when I hear people making such rude comments about, let's say, people that sail on other cruise lines and all that other stuff. It's one thing to crack a harmless joke. Like, I talk about the carnies all the time, but when people legitimately mean it and say, well, this is the poor people cruise line, or the ships are rust buckets and all of that, man, it's absolutely infuriating to me. You have to understand that for many people out there, they just simply don't have Disney money, or maybe they do and they prefer to sail on Carnival. They may like the older ships because, well, Carnival, they do have a lot of funky, cool designs on their older ships. And, well, for a lot of people, it doesn't matter if they're taking a $10,000 vacation or they're taking a couple $100 vacation with their family. The reality is that they're going to enjoy it. And I don't think people should turn around and say, oh, well, since you can only afford a $1,000 vacation for a family of four, while we're paying for a $10,000 cruise on a Disney cruise ship, we're better than you. And, well, it sucks because you're on this crappy cruise line with this crappy rust bucket of a ship. To me, it's just crazy that people even have this mentality if they aren't just making a lighthearted joke. And even then, it's kind of like, why do it? My point here is this: it does not matter if you are sailing on a brand new ship or an old ship. Yes, Carnival has some older ships. Honestly, I commend them for that. For them to be able to keep that massive fleet of some older ships running that way and just to keep going weekly back and forth, absolutely amazing. It does show that, well, they are putting some time, at least into the operational end of their ships, which I think is pretty cool. But overall, like I said, guys, don't judge other people because they can only afford a smaller and more, let's say, inexpensive Carnival cruise or a Royal Caribbean cruise in a Norwegian, while you sail with what would you consider a premium line like Disney. It's absolutely insane. But that's all I got to say, guys. Honestly, I am ridiculously tired. If you guys haven't tell, I apologize, a little off and all over the place. But of course, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section below. Do you think it's justified if you're sailing on a nicer cruise ship, you should talk down if somebody's sailing on an older, let's say less expensive cruise ship or vacation? Let me know your thoughts. Of course, hit that like button on your way out. Know that I love and appreciate every single one of you. And I have a ton of videos coming up, reviews and all that stuff. I have another video coming up on my other channel, Jay the Nomad, as well as this one. So just stay tuned. I appreciate you guys. I'll see you later. Take it easy.